Main event. It's the Shoe Shine.
¿Qué onda, vatos locos? It's your boy Dave from the 408 coming to you all the way from my podcast studio in San Jose, Califas for another edition of the Shoe Shine, where fans of the sweet science get together to talk about none other than pugilism. Joining me as always, all the way from the city of brotherly love, is my co-host, Philly Irish Drew Evo. Drew, ¿qué pasa, homie?
What's up?
And I do apologize to all my audience about the technical difficulties. And what a time to have technical difficulties when I have such a great guest co-host tonight. Joining us, none other than from NewYorkFights.com, Gayle, let me get your last name right. Gayle Falkenthalof, one of my favorite columnists. I follow you on Twitter, of course, and Instagram. And of course, I've been so lucky enough to be on the roundtable with you. And I just always love to read your great work. And Gayle, I'm asking you tonight because this weekend was so special for fans of the sweet science. We had everyone from Top Rank putting on this sensational card, in my opinion, from San Diego, California. We had DAZN putting on, for the U.S. fans, the rematch, Usyk versus Joshua 2. And, of course, Showtime Sports did their thing on the other side of the coast in sunny Florida. So we had boxing all day. And I want to get your take because I read your amazing article today at NewYorkFights.com. I think the sense of electricity was palpable coming through my television screen from San Diego. Gayle, what makes San Diego such an exciting fight town?
Well, first of all, we're a border community with two cities of equal size on either side. You have San Diego proper and, the outlying cities. And then you have Tijuana, with an amazing boxing tradition. What's interesting is that you'd think that boxing tradition would be just as deep on the northern side of the border. Not always the case, but recently we've started to see more major cards, fans on both sides of the border, which was definitely true on Saturday, and I'm absolutely loving it. This was our second major card from Top Rank. In fact, both headlined by Emmanuel Navarrete, who's popular on both sides of the border, and we're going to get another card in October, so things are looking up down here in the little cul-de-sac part of the state.
It is such a great town. I cannot wait to go down there and see a fight. I'm up here in Northern California. We actually had, I want to get to this later, but we had a fighter from Venezuela that you saw. I saw you in the YouTube room, Christian Baez. Not a good night for Venezuelan fighters on Saturday night. We'll talk about that Thompson boxing before I let you go, but let's talk about this exciting card that Top Rank put on because, like you mentioned, it had so many fighters from down south, from the Mexicali area. Navarrete, you had seen him. I saw some videos of you watching his media workouts. And I thought, I was talking with our friend G Funky. I said, he looks like he's in shape. I know it's been a long layoff, but it didn't appear that way in the first 5 rounds. He looked god awful to me. It did not look like the fighter we've been raving about. Drew, did you get a chance to watch a lot of the Top Rank highlights?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. Shall we start with the main story? Navarrete versus Baez, because Baez came to fight, a 122-pound fighter who came up. Were you impressed by him standing in the pocket with such a heavy puncher?
Let me tell you, very impressed. I welcome him back into the ring anytime. He earned another opportunity. He knew this was his big chance, and he was going to go for it. And it was the perfect timing because for Navarrete, being out of the ring 10 months is a long, long time. He's used to fighting 4 or 5 times a year. But, he is creeping up in age a little bit. You coast past that 30 mark. And, making 126 was hard for him. And the word was that he gained 40, now that's 40 pounds during the layoff. That's a lot of weight for a guy that needs to get back down to 126. To his credit, he did it. He did say it was rough. He admitted it, and it looked rough. It looked really rough. He had ring rust. He was a little bit sluggish. He was even a little bit, soft. This is a guy we're used to seeing just, razor thin rip. And man, Baez did not hold back. He absolutely was dominating the fight, certainly through the 5 rounds, um, before we got a little more fireworks.
Mm-hmm.
And Navarrete's corner, which, consists of his family, his brother, and his uncle, they were concerned. And they
Mm-hmm.
said to him, you need to get busy, get moving. Well, when you're a champion like that, you can flip a switch when you need to. And Navarrete, a minute into the 6th round, delivered a wicked, whipping, perfection left hook to the liver. And
Mm-hmm.
Baez's reaction was classic. It hits you, and it takes a little while for that electrical current to get through your system. He stood there for a couple of seconds, and then he wisely took a knee. He knew things were not going well for him all of a sudden, and looked up at the referee as the count was being administered. You could see in his mind thinking, can I will myself to get up? And when that happens, the body is not going to respond. And not only did he not get up, at that point, he completely crumbled to the canvas and he was immobile. The fight was over. Boom. When you've got that kind of one punch power, it really doesn't matter what happens in the 5 rounds prior. But Navarrete should be concerned, and it's a message to him. And he admitted after the fight, making 126 was just really rough on him. And I think that's the last time we've seen him at 126 pounds. I am not disappointed by that. There's a lot of interesting fights for him at 130, including inside the Top Rank universe. So move along and let's see what kind of matches can be.
I did not want to hear that he's leaving 126, but I did hear some statements that he alluded to going to 130. But I want to ask Drew, because he's from Philadelphia, and usually when the green screen is working correct, it's not his fault. He's got Bernard Hopkins, and I can only think of Bernard Hopkins when he dropped Oscar De La Hoya. Drew, was that a perfectly placed liver punch? And
yeah.
a la Bernard Hopkins, were both of you surprised by his inaccuracy? By Navarrete's inaccuracy, because usually his athleticism is so wild, but he lands those magical uppercuts from all angles, but not Saturday. And I was just wondering if it was the rust or if it's just the weight. That's the issue. Drew?
You also got to put a combination of who was he fighting and how that his opponent was fighting. It could throw him off rhythm a little bit, because how he's throwing punches at him too, it throw you off rhythm. It was a war until the knockout happened, but you could say it's because of his weight, you could say because of the ring was, but also gotta give credit to the guy he's fighting for making the fight like that somewhat.
Yeah, and Baez, Gayle, Baez looks like he's a worthy contender at 126 pounds. But I've seen so much talent at the featherweight division at Top Rank. Should he vacate that belt? We now have someone from Mexicali who was on that card, and I'm just a big fan of him. I'm talking about El Venado Lopez, Luis Lopez, El Venado, who's going to get that shot at the eye. This was basically a stay busy fight for him this weekend, but he's going to get a shot at Josh Warrington at his title. Should he bring that back to Top Rank? What happens to that vacated title? Should Navarrete vacate that title?
You could make a really good argument that Baez deserves a shot at it, that he might be one of the better fighters in that division. And similar to Joshua running into Usyk, Baez ran into Navarrete. But with Navarrete out of the way, he has every shot at that belt. So we're going to see some card shuffling and some of these rising talents get their opportunity, which I think is great. Good for them. And Navarrete, he all but said, I am moving up to 130 after the fight.
Right.
I'm just in it. I think that performance rattled him a little bit. It wasn't all of the above problem. He had a really aggressive opponent who just wouldn't let him get settled, wouldn't let him set, came at him from every direction. And with Navarrete being rusty and maybe a little weakened due to the weight cut, It was just a really tough start. But, when he had to get down to business, he did. Funny thing about that left hook is it really didn't land entirely flush. Navarrete just doesn't do anything like the textbook. He's awkward. He's just wild at times. His shots are looping as hard as they are. He never seems to go straight to the target. And this left hook kind of came up roughly, was turned up a little higher than you might think, but it got the job done.
I read that today. He says it himself that his punches look unorthodox, but that they work for him. And indeed they do.
Terrific. He said, I know my left hook's not perfect, but it's perfect for me. That says it all.
Beautiful. We've got a lot of people rooting for people like Branco Lara to get a shot. I know that El Venado Lopez is going to get a shot. But, I also want to point out that Ruben Villa, who fought Navarrete last year inside the bubble, he came very close, despite being dropped himself a couple of times. He came very close to winning a majority of those rounds against Navarrete. I wouldn't mind seeing him get another opportunity at Top Rank for that vacated belt against somebody like Baez, should be the case, or a rematch, because Ruben Villa has fought El Venado Lopez before. And El Venado Lopez, I want to keep talking about him tonight because he actually fought the Venezuelan guy that is making it was an internet viral. At this point, the video's gone viral. I'm talking about Christian Baez at Thompson Boxing. El Venado Lopez is the only guy to have knocked him out prior to that. And I'm going to show that video, guys, later, because Gayle and I saw Gayle in the Thompson Boxing live chat. G Funky was there. It was a knockout of epic proportions. It was something else. Let's get back to the Top Rank thing, because there's some other fighters on that card that are so exciting to me. And I want to talk about Lindolfo Delgado, the Mexican Olympian, who I think those two guys stole the show Saturday night in an 8-round barn burner. Both undefeated fighters. His opponent from Mexicali, Delgado, the Mexican Olympian from Nuevo León. Just amazing effort between two undefeated fighters, putting on one hell of a show. What was that performance like in front of that audience?
That crowd was roaring from the opening bell. Their camps were both there. Lindolfo and Omar Aguilar. They had, show-stopping ring walks. They were ready to rock. There was no holding back. They just let it rip. They were both in good condition. They're all offense fighters. I turned to my colleague, David Avila, who happened to be sitting next to me at press row, and I said, this is like Vargas and Takashi Miura without the cuts. This is, name any slugfest you've seen in Southern California. It was going on right there between these two guys. And, they were very motivated. Neither of them wanted to suffer that first loss. Those guys don't know what it's like to lose as a pro, and they don't want to know. And it was back and forth. It was really razor thin. Whatever the scorecard said, it was so close. There was doubt at the end when we were listening, waiting for those scores. I honestly thought Aguilar might have taken it, but in the end, Lindolfo did get the victory. But no shame to Aguilar. He'll be welcome back, and he should learn a lot from that fight. Just as you mentioned Ruben Villa, you learn a lot from a loss. You frequently learn a lot more from a loss than you do just mowing down guys left and right. And then when you really get that opportunity at the top of the division, if you haven't faced that kind of adversity, you're not ready. You're not ready when it comes at you at that level. So, suffering a loss on the way up is not the worst thing in the world.
Top Rank has so much talent at 140 pounds. I noticed Lindolfo Delgado has been coming in at 141, 142, 143. Drew, did you get a chance to watch those two guys? Because both of those guys are impressive. One is a straight Mexican style, come forward, but Lindolfo Delgado's got so many tools in his toolkit. Gayle, he's got these sharp hooks, these uppercuts. His IQ is on another level. I really think Lindolfo Delgado is the kind of fighter that's going to break out from that pack and show to be a world-class contender. But will it be at 140 pounds, or is he just about to be a welterweight? What's the deal with him?
sometimes the struggle to make the weight, just gets too difficult. Other guys decide, yeah, it's going to be tough, but I perform better, so I'm willing to put in the work. That's at the point where they really need to think seriously about a nutritionist. It can make all the difference for them. It's a big bite out of their wallet, but it can really make the difference between sticking around in a division where you've got a good shot and moving up where you're a little bit more at a disadvantage. The other thing we didn't talk about is both those guys can take a shot. Damn, they you didn't see them get rattled too much despite the offense coming at both of them. They were standing right in there, man. They were feeling the fire. And the audience could tell they were, which is why they got so darn whipped up. And, when you've got the fans from both sides of the border, and all their camps are there and all the followers are there, that's the beauty of having cards all over the country, not just LA, not just Vegas, not just New York or Jersey or Texas, close to where these guys come from. So their fans can be there in the seats, cheer them on. They'll have a night they never forget, win or lose. And you two for a lot of fans, they really never get to see high level prize fighting in person. They just don't get that opportunity. But damn, once you're there after having watched it on TV, it's a whole different thing and you are hooked. That's
Absolutely.
what boxing needs to do more. When Top Rank was going to Tulsa, Lincoln for Terrence Crawford, and all the fights they've now started to develop, this huge market in Texas, putting Deontay Wilder in Alabama, Thurman in Florida. This is what we need to do more of. These are major cities that can develop a boxing community if given a chance.
I agree 100%. I want to get Drew a chance to chime in. Drew, did either of these guys pass the Drew Evo eye test of future contenders at 140 pounds? Either the shorter Olympian or the taller kid who was on an undefeated streak of his own, Omar Aguilar.
Like Aguilar, tell you the truth, he was just easier to get hit. Like the guy or whatever his name is, he was able to avoid shots by moving his head. Like Aguilar wasn't moving his head; he was just taking shots after shots and everything. And I thought the one time he was down, I thought that was considered a knockdown, and the referee didn't consider it a knockdown. And if he was down clearly because of a hit and everything. So, I really think if any, Delgado has more of a chance to be a contender than Aguilar because Aguilar is going to be more of a punching bag for somebody, for a top contender or a prospect moving forward. Because he's so easy to get hit, but he can give it, but he takes a lot of shots, and it's not going to be it's not a recipe for success in the long run.
Exactly. Okay, Gayle. Last but not least, the local hometown favorite who's trying to make his name at the welterweight division to be a future star. I thought Giovanni Santillan had been looking like he's going to be a future star, but this Saturday night he got one hell of a test. This is a guy who I've been watching since Thompson boxing himself. A lot of these guys come out of smaller promotional cards. Now he's in the big light. I think it's his second big fight in the San Diego in front of his hometown crowd. Did he get a questionable decision in your eyes?
No, he didn't. He wanted to have a better performance. He really wanted that stoppage on Saturday. We thought he was going to get it. He did get a very early knockdown, but it wasn't to be. Now, there were a couple of shutout scorecards. Those were absolutely ridiculous.
It seemed to be across the board Saturday night when we talk about the rest of the promotional outfits. Some wild scorecards, right?
I mean, that's why you do not leave it in the hands of the judges if you can help it. That's for sure. I did have it 97, 94, which is the third card. Fair enough. Santillan is skilled, perfectly capable. He works very hard. He's got solid fundamentals. He doesn't have the power that the top performing middleweights have. He does not punch like Canelo at his prime, Golovkin, Hopkins. I mean, he's just you're that much short. And unfortunately, that's been a problem for him. So he thinks he wants to be a knockout artist, and that's just not going to happen. So he's got to turn in good, tactically skilled fights, and he can do that, and he can win. How far he can get beyond very solid, very competent performances, I'm not sure. I think his upside is a bit limited, but God bless him. Let's give him a try. Top Rank seems to be very willing to keep him busy, but he is 30 years old.
Yeah, he's on the brink of 30, I guess, or he is turning 30.
He is 30. He, if he was 25 and this was happening, I would be a little less concerned about upside. But at 30, and he's an old looking 30. If you I know why I'm saying that, but I think he is one of those guys that, to his credit, will absolutely maximize the skill level he has through hard work. But, in that way, he reminds me slightly of Jamel Herring, who was not the most powerful puncher in the world, but no one worked harder at craft than Jamel. I think Giovanni's a little bit like that, but I think when you're really talking about the very top elite of that division, he's going to have a rough time. I mean, if I saw him standing across from someone like Bubu Andrade, not going to happen.
Yeah, indeed. Well, it was a great card. I do want to give a shout out to Sacramento's Xavier Martinez too, who I saw on the card, who had a nice little comeback rap because he did get thrown into Top Rank in the mix, and I think in a championship fight too soon, and he suffered his first loss. So it was nice to see him back in the win column. Also, we had Ali, the grandson, doing his thing, looking good, trying to win. He's winning over the fans here slowly, whatever you think of him. But I want to talk to you about this Thompson boxing.
Learning on the job, I'll tell you. Learning on the job is tough, especially when you're that famous. The funny thing about that fight is, he also got a body shot knockout.
He sure did.
And he said this a bit on the broadcast, but elaborated quite a bit more after the fight. I have a video up in my store if you want to take a look at his comments. It was Tim Bradley who lectured him during the fighter meetings and said, son, you're going backwards. You need to get busy. And he was the one that said, you need to take this guy out with a body shot, with a left hook to the liver. And that's what Ali Walsh did. So upon winning the fight, he walked over to Bradley's position, ringside where he was broadcasting, leaned over, and they fist bumped each other. It was hilarious.
It was also nice to see Andre Ward. They say he's finally come out of his house.
Andre was actually there. Yep, he came down from the Bay Area to be there in person. Maybe it's a return to work policy by ESPN. I don't know. But I think, truth be told, come on, who can turn down a trip to San Diego?
Exactly. When I have my co-host Drew Evo back here. Okay, Corona, California, Thompson Boxing. While I have you here, because this is so controversial and a lot of people feel very strongly about this knockout that almost went unseen until it went viral. But I was there to watch it. I love Thompson Boxing, what they do. Duran, shout out to him and Dougie Fisher, doing a great job commentating. At the Hustler Casino, Ruben Torres is a 6-foot kid from South Central LA, undefeated prospect. Looks great physically for the weight class, right? I was there to root him on to see what he's got against Christian Baez, a Venezuelan fighter that Golden Boy dropped. And apparently he trains right behind me in the 49er Stadium. There's a boxing gym that I had no idea. He trains right out of here, about 5 minutes from my house. I knew very little about this Venezuelan opponent, but after a little bit, I was shocked at how well he was doing. almost putting on one of those Edwin Valero type performances. They exchanged knockouts in the second round, Drew. They both knock each other down. And I said, wow, this is turning out to be possibly one of the best fights of all night. And then there's this knockdown. Ruben Torres gets him up against the ropes, and there's like a flash knockdown. He argues, I'm fine, that's not a knockdown. And then we see this. I'm going to show the clip, guys, if you didn't see it. But if you did see it, please let me know as it replays here. They touch gloves. He's arguing with the ref. And there it is. Floyd Mayweather versus Ortiz all over again. Here it is from a different angle. As they touch gloves and lights out. Very scary knockout. Yeah. This is not how I wanted to see Ruben Torres win this fight.
Baez was fine, by the way.
Thank God.
They kept him down on the canvas for quite some time for his safety. Eventually got him to a stool, and he did get out of the ring under his own power. He was okay. That was the last fight of a very long day of boxing for those of us that started, super early with the fights from Saudi Arabia. So this fight barely began before midnight. It was also the return of Thompson to their outdoor venue in Corona, California, which is called the Omega Products Center. I think it's Omega Products Center International. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the parking lot behind Omega Products, which is a construction company supply warehouse. Okay. So they're in the damn parking lot of Omega. They just clear it out, put tents up. It's cool, and there's, when it's full, there's maybe 900 people, and it's midnight, right? It's midnight. And they're in Riverside County. It's warm in Southern California right now. So it's probably still 85 degrees. And you've got Beto Duran, Rich Murata, the longtime great broadcaster from LA, who's now helping run the Nevada Boxing Hall of Fame, and Doug Fisher, editor of Ring Magazine. These three guys on the call. You know what? That's a lot of broadcasting firepower for a little venue in, Riverside County. They love it. Southern California has great affection for Thompson boxing. So here's this fight raging away, last fight of the night, and that happens. Now, later, I checked in with referee Thomas Taylor. Thomas is really one of the best young referees in business. You're starting to see him in Las Vegas now that he's gotten a lot more fights behind him. Kind of the next generation in California and Nevada. He's a very, very good referee. Baez is whining like, "Nah, man, don't count me down. That's not a knockdown, man. My glove did touch. The ropes didn't hold me up." Blah, blah. He's bitching and moaning about it. And Taylor's ignoring him and counts him out, and then looks at him and says, "Box." And Baez decides he's going to touch gloves, and Torres is like, "Protect yourselves at all times." Boom. Honestly, that punch was just, it was just out of nowhere, just short little check left hook, bang, right on the chin. And the way he fell, in fact, his legs were crossed as he fell.
Yeah.
And it was straight as a stick. I mean, it almost looked fake, like a WWE dive or something. We could hardly believe it. And if you watch that clip with the sound on, I promise you, take my advice, turn the audio down.
I had some very mixed feelings. On one hand, my first impression,
those guys went nuts screaming, and lights out. It was over. It was a crazy knockout. So
I have to ask both of you, Drew, too. My first impression was, wow, that was a lightning fast left hook that came out of nowhere. He's got some hands. Then my second thought was that unethical? But really, you fight for the entire 3 minutes of the round. It's the entire 3 minutes. Even while you're taking a timeout to complain and bitch, you have to protect yourself at all times. So I do have mixed feelings about the outcome of how he won that fight, because I'm still excited to see where Ruben Torres is. Will he be a standout at Thompson Boxing who moves on to the next level? For now, he's just a guy with a seriously mean streak and power behind his shots. Drew, was that a dick move? Unethical, unsportsmanlike, or fair and square? Your mic is muted, Drew. I still have no audio on you. Well, I'll try to fix your mic right now, Drew. Gayle, thank you so much for joining us tonight. I want everybody to know you guys can make sure you follow her on social media at PR Pro San Diego and at NewYorkFights.com. Great articles, and everybody there at New York Fights is just a sensational writer. I appreciate you so much.
Really strong, led by former ESPN and Ring Magazine writer-editor Michael Woods, our managing editor Abe Gonzalez, and a really experienced team across the board, all over the country. I am your West Coast correspondent holding it down. I recommend everything on the site, and if there's something you don't see there, let us know. We're trying to cover it all for you, and without attitude, without trying to be clickbait, straight ahead. We call it as it is. And that knockdown was completely clean. I checked with Thomas Taylor. He said, no, my instructions were clear. I cleared them to box. I waved them in. Protect yourselves at all times is not just said for window dressing. It means what it means. And we just got a very visceral reminder of that. And maybe Baez wants to go have a conversation with Victor Ortiz. I don't know.
Thank you so much for joining us, Gayle. Look forward to you. Yeah, and take care of the little dogs. We'll talk to you soon.
I'm glad they stayed quiet.
Thank you.
Look forward to joining you again sometime.
Bye-bye. Have a great night, Gayle. Thank you so much. Drew, I'm not sure. Can you hear me? What's up, everybody? Yeah, now I can hear you just fine. By the way, guys, thanks a lot for Gayle coming on, who covered the fight at Top Rank. Just a crazy weekend for the sport of boxing. Guys, by the way, our phone line that I usually have, as you can see, Drew's green screen is down. There won't be no phone line, so drop your comments. Let me know what direction you guys want the show to go. Let's get on to the DAZN card, Drew, because Drew's going to get fired up about the Usyk situation. Did we call it right or did we call it right? Usyk wins again?
Yes. Usyk does win.
Do we bother talking about the undercard? Look, Callum Smith looks fantastic at 175. I'm telling people I can't believe Canelo beat his ass like that and broke his arm, because Callum Smith looks good at 175. He looks good. Filip Hrgovic, he don't look like the goods to me, man. I think he was a hype job, and I think he got a gift. Let me know in the chat, guys. Did Filip Hrgovic get a free gift decision against Zalil Zhang? Because Zalil Zhang put on a fight of his life, but man, he gassed out at the very end, and I think it cost him the fight. Did it?
I had him winning, I don't know. I really had him winning more by a couple rounds, and he had the knockdown too. This was a robbery. I don't see how you could score. What was it? 116, 112, two of them, and 114, 113 from and everything. I don't get that. If you want to do 116, 112, you can say, but I think I had it 116, 111 for Zhang because of the knockdown and everything. So it's a load of bullshit. He got robbed, and this should be a rematch. They're both with Matchroom, so why can this fight not get made again? It was an entertaining fight, but he got a gift decision.
Oh, man, Sin City Syndicate is in here. What's up, homeboy? He says, Robert Garcia Boxing Gym is where greats go to die. Ouch! Sonteo Media come on, bro. You got to defend your homeboys. Look, I think jumping right into the conversation of Usyk versus Joshua, Drew, I think that there was some notable improvements, and I saw that the game plan was visible. I saw Anthony Joshua make some improvements. There was a game plan. We saw some video that was released earlier in the week that he was going to try to attack Usyk to the body and stop his motion there, and he had some success in some rounds, even hurting him. But ultimately, guys, Robert Garcia in that short training camp wasn't going to change all the habits Anthony Joshua has developed. Right or wrong?
Problem is, there's one big difference between these two. Usyk adjusts. AJ doesn't during a fight. And Usyk adjusts multiple times in this fight. If you match Usyk and AJ 10 times, Usyk beats him 10 out of 10 times because he mainly adjusts during the fight, and AJ cannot. And Usyk has a great chin. And like, if you look at the ninth round when AJ went ham on him, the next round Usyk came back and went ham on him for the rest of the fight. And like, this was more of like the same fight mostly, except for the rounds AJ won, that he won in a good way. The round now, 1-9 was a convincing one round by AJ, but if you look at it, this was really a 9-3 fight. You can be generous and give him 8-4, but this was a 9-3 fight.
Guys, don't hate on me, but I had this. I was scoring it. Even my wife scored it. I had it 9-3 with some questionable rounds, and I could give Anthony Josua the round where he did a lot of body work. I still thought Usyk outlanded him, so I had a question mark on that. I have it like 8-4 generously to Anthony Josua, or 9-3 if I'm not being generous. But Anthony Joshua's, I mean, he fought well throughout the fight. You can tell when he was going to gas. Usually he gasses 6, 7, 8, but I was surprised how well he did in the 9th round, how his stamina, the tank, was still going. And it wasn't until Usyk adjusted in the championship rounds that he put the show away, that he put it away, man. When he came out firing on all cylinders in the 10th round, you knew that Usyk was going to win this thing. And I don't know, Drew, if you noticed right before the 12th round that Usyk started praying or like talking to himself, his eyes closed. It was really cinematic. It was like a movie, like straight out of a Rocky movie. He's talking himself into winning this fight and closing the show. It was really dramatic. And let's not even get to what happened as soon as the fight ended, man. What happened? At first, I'm like, this is great sportsmanship. And then everything went to hell and Anthony Josua went nuts.
Anthony Josua completely lost it, completely became a sore loser, threw the belts out, and he was like, how can you beat me? I'm like, how can he beat you? He outboxed you, and he literally showed you how exposed you. You're not, like you said it to him, you're not a 12-round fighter. But you, tell you the truth, he exposed you there. You're not a 12-round fighter. And like, tell you the truth, a cruiserweight came up and beat you twice and everything. So he was being a sore loser, man. And then he's trying to make excuses. Say, hey, I was in a dark place to have to fight him. Everything. Yo, you did that.
Chicano Prophet says it was embarrassing, but it was hilarious. It was strange to me. More than I was laughing, I'm like, man, he's having a moment where, you know, he's clearly over emotional, passionate.
That's what happened.
I got to give credit to Usyk, man, because a lot of guys for that disrespect would have probably continued they would have continued to fight gloves off and whatnot. And Usyk, even Joshua motioned and tried to grab the flag, and Usyk was like, look, I'll let you yap on the fucking mic, but that's, don't touch my flag. Because this is really special to him, what's going on in the war with Ukraine. That's where he drew the line, like, nah, you don't touch my flag. I even let you talk on the mic when it's, it's unheard of. You're the loser, and you don't reclaim the microphone. But he was so gracious, Usyk, man. I think he's a classy champion. I don't need to see a third fight. Does anybody need to see a third fight between these two guys?
Here's my problem with this whole thing. When AJ took the mic, try to brag what he'd been through and everything, and he doesn't realize that he had it good for himself. He was like, he had a whole country behind him, like saying that what you've been through and everything. Like, tell you the truth, if you want to see, Usyk's been through more than you. Like, there was a thing that they didn't think Usyk was gonna come back and everything. People were down Usyk because he had all this on his mind and everything. But like, I look at it like this right now, Anthony Joshua, there is mainly a rumor going around that he is coming back in December to fight.
Yeah, Anthony Joshua specified he's coming. He wants to fight. and that he's going to aim to be a 3-time world champion. So I don't know what his path is. He must be talking about getting that Daniel Dubois minor belt, a minor WBA belt. By the way, Daniel Dubois hasn't been paid by what's his name?
King.
He hasn't been paid by Don King, so he's got the belt, but he hasn't gotten a paycheck for it. So if he wants that tiny belt, but look, Anthony Joshua should go on. There's no doubt in my mind that he's young. Today, Andy Ruiz said this guy needs to take some major time off, man. He needs to take some serious time off and just focus on himself, and that, he'll come back. He said, look, I had to take some time off. I'm coming back. Reminding everybody, by the way, that Andy Ruiz will be fighting Ortiz on pay-per-view, if you're foolish enough to buy that.
But I do have to say, so I do have to really say this, because, like, listening to other people on shows say this repeatedly in the past and everything, the pound for pound list is for fighters other than heavyweights. I think that's the biggest load of shit I ever heard in my life.
Uh-oh.
That people want to say that because they want to have a reason to be able to put their Canelos, their Terrence Crawfords, their Earl Spence as pound for pound #1 fighters, and do not want to recognize heavyweights because they said heavyweights are not really big time boxers. They're big time punchers and everything. And the unified and literal heavyweight champion is a boxer. And he is the best boxer on the planet at this time. He is the pound for pound #1 fighter. No questions. If you dispute it, you're just retarded in my eyes. And
wow. Shit. And the phone lines are down today, guys. I swear to God, next Monday I'll get this resolved because Drew is fired up. Usyk is pound for pound what? What are you saying? He's pound for pound #1 in your list?
Yep, he is pound for pound list. And the thing about it is, it's not capping, it's facts. Because if you look at his resume and you look at where he beat all these guys at, and he is probably the only guy that will ever beat AJ Trice. And he is the only boxer in history to hold the Ring Magazine Cruiser and the Ring Magazine Heavyweight Championship of the world. And to people that want to discredit a heavyweight's accomplishments and say that the pound for pound list is not for heavyweights, you are sadly mistaken, and you really need to stop hating on some of these guys and stop acting petty, because all I see right now is people wanting to fucking make excuses that why Canelo, Terrence Crawford, and Earl Spence are your #1 pound for pound fighters, and they do not have the accolades of fucking Usyk.
Oh, man. So tell me, I'm sorry. He says he was on hold trying to call since Gayle split. Guys, I do apologize. And Drew's now on fire. By the way, all this bullshit that Tyson Fury is retired or whatnot, it says here, okay, Michael Benson says, Bob Arum has declared that he's already had positive conversations with Alexander Usyk's team about a potential undisputed heavyweight title fight versus Tyson Fury. I hope to do that fight in December maybe or early next year. Quote unquote, what's that, barbershop conversation? What kind of source is that? But anyways, there is light at the end of the tunnel about finally having it undisputed, Drew. And I have to say, over the years that we've talked, when we used to even have our old co-host, the Crab Daddy and whatnot, a lot of us here are fans of Tyson Fury, Drew. And I have to say, should this fight actually happen, I'm not going to give Usyk the benefit on that one. I think the Tyson King, the Gypsy King, best him with that huge size. He absolutely knows how to use that huge size. But here's my caveat. He's got to do it now, Drew. He can't take 2 years off and get fat and out of shape and go to shit.
Here's the thing. I really think Fury beats him because of his size and he can box and everything. But it's not a far, like a big gap between these guys. This is a slight gap in
size or skill set.
And skill set and everything. I think if anybody beats Tyson Fury, it's Usyk. And if anybody beats Usyk, it's Tyson Fury. This is probably the best. This is probably a chess match that you're going to love.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I can't wait to see that. They should definitely happen. But listen, now there's a lot of conversation. Where does Deontay Wilder and Anthony Joshua fit in the landscape, because these are two former world champions that are formidable foes to anybody. And honestly, I think if Fury wasn't around, or if Usyk retires early, that those two guys have a good chance of becoming world champions again.
True, but you also got to deal with, like, you got Joseph Parker still. You got Hogatov. You got Zhang. You got Joe Joyce. You got Dubois.
You got some great guys in the top 10.
You got Jared Anderson coming along.
Mm-hmm.
Good heavyweight division still, like. But, like, if we're going to see, if these two are out of it, who is the favorite to be a world champion? Again, you will probably have to say Joshua could, but Deontay Wilder could knock Joshua out. So,
hey man, that's another great fight that I know a lot of people are talking about. I would not mind seeing that. The biggest American heavyweight star, and one of the, I think Anthony Joshua can lay claim that he's the biggest star in the UK boxing, even bigger star than Tyson Fury.
I don't think the thing is, they can say
he thinks it.
Right? But here's the thing. He's not the best fighter in the UK. He's, telling you the truth, Tyson Fury beats him easily.
Yeah. Where's the ladies? Where's the ladies in the chat? So we got any ladies? Because I know for ladies that watch boxing with their men, it's like, yeah, they're not looking at who's the better fighter. They're looking at the good-looking guy. Like, who's the better? But he's better looking. All right, Drew. Any final thoughts on the DAZN card, man, or the heavyweight landscape?
Good card and everything. Like, I'm hoping we see a rematch with Zhang versus Hogatov and everything. If not, maybe one of those two will fight AJ next. Might be a good fight while it lasts, because there is going to be a knockout in that fight probably. And I think Eddie Hearn really took a big L in this with the AJ losing and everything, because he was he's going to knock Usyk out in 5 rounds and everything. Eddie Hearn, it backfired on you again, bro. Like, you really, really can't. You got to realize, man, what else can he do to improve and everything? Robert Garcia did not help him really much.
Well, somebody in the chat said that AJ should consider making the move permanently to Los Angeles, that there was some good work done between him and Robert Garcia, and that he probably would learn and get even better if he came to the U.S. And I actually agree with that statement. I think it'd be a good idea for him to leave the U.K. and get out of his element. I saw some improvement. Again, I didn't think it was going to be enough time to be a miracle worker and beat Usyk. But on the subject of Southern California heavyweights, Drew, Andy Ruiz, I was talking about him, and he's got his upcoming pay-per-view with Ortiz in September. They're really trying to sell this fight. Should Andy Ruiz win that, he becomes the WBC mandatory to Tyson Fury. Now, they've already said, man, that unification, undisputed, comes first. So the WBC is on board. If Tyson Fury wants to fight Usyk, that's what's going to happen. But look, man, Andy Ruiz is taking this fight serious. He thinks he's got a shot at Tyson Fury's WBC belt.
Here's the thing. I don't think Andy Ruiz wins this fight. I think Luis Ortiz knocks him out. I don't think he has a shot at Fury, because Fury is Luis Ortiz and everything. And I don't think whoever wins this, I don't think they're going to see a title shot until one of these two, everyone's Undisputed, retires. If there's an Undisputed, because tell you the truth, why are we, they're going to look at it and say, why the fuck am I going to fight you for? I get nothing from fighting you and everything. Tell you, we could see, Andy Ruiz is known for knocking out AJ and then losing the second fight, and then losing a close fight to Joseph Parker, and then getting knocked down by Chris Arreola.
Yeah, Yeah, I remember that fight like it was yesterday, Drew. A lot of people don't remember that you and I started our show off on Twitter's Periscope live streaming app, and we lost our channel because we were showing the Andy Ruiz-Joshua fight on Periscope and DAZN copyright, and just next thing I know, we just lost our live streaming ability on Twitter and Periscope. But that's how it goes. I don't know who's going to pay for that fight, man. You know what? Our friend Sin City Syndicate here is in the room, and he's always telling me about these great things at Circa Las Vegas. Circa Las Vegas, the nicest downtown casino, Drew, showed the Anthony Joshua fight this Saturday versus Usyk on the biggest screens they have in Las Vegas, and it was absolutely free to anybody who wanted to come down and watch it on their big screens. And yet, if you want to watch Ortiz versus Andy Ruiz, you're going to have to pay for that. You don't have to pay for that, like it's pay-per-view worthy, but whatever, man. Listen, before we move on for the rest of the night, there was still some more action. There was Showtime Sports, Drew. There was 2 brand new world champions crowned this Saturday night. Lipinets comes out of nowhere, last minute, replaces Adrian Broner. Everyone loves Adrian Broner or hates him. Lipinets comes out of nowhere and beats the shit out of Figueroa into retirement. And 2 new world champions are crowned. And a guy named Brandon Lee that everybody thinks he's Mexican and Korean, everybody thinks he's going to be a star at 140 pounds, gets rocked. It was an unbelievable knockdown that his opponent landed on him. But he got up. He got up and outboxed the guy. So that says a lot about Brandon Lee. I'm shocked that he got up from that right hand, man. He really got effed up on that right hand, Drew. If you didn't watch that, let me know what you guys think about Brandon Lee getting up off the canvas for the first time, getting dropped hard by a club level fighter for all things. But no, there's 2 new world champions, Drew. 130 pounds, dominated by Shakur Stevenson. There's a Venezuelan fighter. I talked about the Venezuelan fighter from earlier. This Venezuelan fighter held the title. He had won it, I believe, on DAZN from the Nicaraguan fighter. Anyways, that Venezuelan fighter was supposed to fight Colbert in Las Vegas last year. And one of those 2 got COVID. So Colbert took a last-minute fight against a Dominican fighter. This Dominican fighter ends up fighting for the championship this Saturday night and takes it from the Venezuelan. So a great night for Dominican Republican fighters. Hector Garcia, 6 months ago, nobody knew who he is. He runs through Colbert, knocks down Colbert for the first time in his life, makes a fool of him in Las Vegas. This was like his big Vegas debut. And now Hector Garcia finds himself the 130-pound WBA champion, Drew. Now, they're talking about Navarrete moving up to 130. I don't like Navarrete fighting Shakur Stevenson right away, Drew. This kid Hector Garcia is pretty tough, man. He's congratulations to him, but that's a bold division to be in with Shakur Stevenson. If you ask me, Shakur Stevenson takes them all out.
I think Navarrete is eventually going to be fed to Shakur Stevenson, to make some money for.
Yeah, he's asking for it too. It sounds like he's asking to fight Shakur.
I look at it I was watching that PBC card a little bit, and when I was at this party this past weekend, I went on a date this past weekend. So I went to a party and watched some of the fights and everything. Only good thing at the party, it's a good thing at the party watching fights and everything. So. Brandon Lee got up and everything, getting knocked down, getting rocked and everything. But, he's still a prospect. And that's one test already. Getting rocked, getting knocked down, getting back up and win the fight.
So Santana Media says the word on the street is Brandon Lee has been dropped in sparring in the past several times, sources say. Yeah, he could dish it, man, but at 140 pounds, that division is stacked. Now it all becomes questionable to me. Nando Lama says Shakur embarrasses Navarrete. That's a horrible matchup. And this one is funny. This comment right here from Sid and City Syndicate says, Abner Mares should go call fights in the 99-cent parking lots. 99-cent store parking lot. How you guys feel about Abner Mares coming back, man, with that eye? With that droopy, torn retina, man. That's bad news. All right, well, also, this is crazy, but Josh Taylor vacated one of his belts, Drew. The WBA 140-pound belt now belongs to, it was Akhmedov, who had fought Mario Barrios 2 years ago on the Spence Porter undercard. And Akhmabed, I thought he did pretty good, but he fought a guy named Puello, who also from the Dominican Republic, who edged it. These were some pretty shitty scorecards all across the board on Saturday night, Drew. For me, the worst one was the one that obviously was it Glenn Feldman that gave Anthony Josua the win.
The dumbass.
There was some questionable ones. The Akhmabed 140-pound matchup. Now there's a new champion at 140 pounds, which to me is a big deal because Top Rank doesn't even have one. All these guys at Top Rank, from Teofimo Lopez and Jose Ramirez, they're all vying for a shot at one of these vacated belts. But here in Florida, somebody snatches one up. Puello snatches one up, who, I mean, the guy's on nobody's radar, despite having a decent win on Saturday night. Nobody really knows who he is or how he's going to fare against other champions at 140 pounds. What are your thoughts on that, Drew? 140 pounds, all these vacated belts.
Man, it's crazy how, belts are being vacated left and right and everything, trying to figure out who's going to get the shots at these belts and everything. The WBA belt is already taken care of. Now you got one more belt that's got to be up for grabs, and that's who's like Cepeda versus Prograis.
Right.
It's everything. And they might not have, Top Rank might not have another belt besides the three belts that Josh Taylor has left, if you count the Ring Magazine. But when it comes to Glenn Feldman, I think he's in the early stages of dementia and everything. He thought he was watching Mike Tyson versus Holyfield 1, and he got back to reality, and he's watching Usyk versus AJ again, and gives it a fucked up score.
Yeah, there was definitely some shit. If you guys have a comment on what was the worst scorecard of the night on Saturday night, whether it was Glenn Feldman or a suspicious fight card on Top Rank or on DAZN, please let me know. I thought the Zhang one, that one kind of upset me because I was kind of thinking the Chinese heavyweight won that fight. That one kind of bothered me, but that's how it goes, man. All these different fights, guys. All right, in boxing news, this is big news, Drew. This is big news. All right, November 5th, you guys probably already heard it, but look, Dimitri Bivol is going to fight Zurdo Ramirez. And for everybody who thinks Drew only favors Eastern European fighters, I think Drew and I are on the same page rooting for Zurdo Ramirez, are we?
I think Zurdo beats Bivol.
There you have it. Already, we haven't even made the prediction, but November 5th is going to be a big night for Oscar De La Hoya and Golden Boy and DAZN, because not only that, but they got that Jojo Diaz versus William Zepeda. William El Camarón Zepeda is fighting Jojo Diaz, which means this is a big win for Oscar De La Hoya, guys. And I'm going to tell you guys why it's a big win. Because Canelo Alvarez really wants that Dimitri Bivol rematch. And Eddie Hearn alluded that it was almost done deal guaranteed. I'm going to get you that rematch. Should Zurdo beat Bivol, which I'm going to favor him in this matchup, not that it's going to be easy at all, there's no chance that Canelo has any reason to fight Dimitri Bivol, right? I mean, if there's no title on the line, Canelo has specifically told us all of the past 2 years that the only things that matter to him are titles and championships. If Dimitri Bivol loses that title to Zurdo, then there's no reason to face the most dangerous rematch you ever can face. There's no motivation. This is a win for Oscar, who wants to greatly get back at Canelo for leaving him. This is a big freaking deal. Not only that, Drew, Jojo Diaz was supposed to be Ryan Garcia's easy next mark. That's gone. So now who's Ryan going to fight?
Well, Ryan is going to fight a mark because Ryan's a mark. That's the best opponent for a mark. Another fucking mark.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I don't think Canelo will go anywhere near Zurdo Ramirez. They're apparently very close. They have a very friendly relationship, even though they've sparred together. Canelo has been very vocal in saying he will not fight another Mexican champion, that he has no reason to, and he's too patriotic. So I don't see a motivation for that. And I think that the Ramirez matchup would be even harder than the Bivol matchup. In fact, I'm starting to think if Ramirez wins this belt, Drew, Canelo's best matchup is with Arthur Beterbiev. If I have to pick.
I think you people should be pissed off about Canelo don't want to fight another Mexican. Like, come on now. I'm pissed off.
Drew's mad about that. He's got skin in the game.
Mexican.
Some media says Oscar De La Hoya getting revenge on Canelo for dipping out.
You know what?
Man, taking all these fights away from Canelo.
Everything, that's why, Oscar has things going to him. He got, got hot ass looking young girlfriend that's like 30 years older than. He's just cop blocked Canelo in a rematch for the guy that whooped his ass, that gave him a boxing lesson. Because it's most likely Zora's going to beat the shit out of the guy that gave Canelo a boxing lesson. And, what else can I say? What else? Fuck it. He's going to give Ryan another fucking mark because Ryan's a fucking mark. Period.
We'll have to dig deep to find Ryan. The one thing I want to see Ryan is just to be more active. You know what I mean? Like, I'll stop hating on the guy. If he's more active and he increases the level of opposition, then, hey, we'll see where he goes from here, He does look okay at 140 pounds. There's a ton of people he can fight and make fights with. And the one, of course, that I'm looking forward to is Teofimo Lopez. I want to see those two guys, young stars, go at it. Part of the original Four Kings, right?
Yeah, the man boys get together for that one. They can kumbaya in a little circle with one another. Kumbaya. One's going to see FIFA's over. FIFA's going to wise ass. It's going to be Dick Riding City. Oh, God, I love my fucking job.
Sin City Syndicate says Oscar's girl is Vegas Dave's lapdog. Oh my God. You guys ever watch that documentary on Vegas Dave on YouTube? I haven't yet, man, but everybody knows who Vegas Dave is. And Drew, let me tell you something. Vegas Dave, and that's not me because I don't live in Vegas yet, but he's no looker, man. He's not on Oscar De La Hoya's level. And yet, Oscar took the guy's leftovers, I guess. Well, he's got a point there, man. I don't know. If I was Oscar De La Hoya, I want to take no leftovers. I don't want to be associated with anybody. You know what I mean? It's like these guys that go around dating Kim Kardashian after Kim Kardashian's been with everybody. Do you really want to be that next rapper that's like 5th or 6th or 7th or 8th?
Kim Kardashian is like a fucking,
You know what I'm saying? Or do you guys care? Do you guys care? Do you guys want to? Would you take a celebrity sloppy seconds? Does it matter? Drop me a comment. Let me know you watched the entire Shoe Shine and leave us a comment. And by the way, guys, I'm just shy. This is a team effort. Drew and I have been doing this for a minute, but hey, we're just shy of our 400 sub, and I really, really thought that we would be monetized by now. So help us get those subscribers up. Let everybody know who watches boxing. Tune in Monday nights to the Shoe Shine. Don't forget to hit a like. If you didn't hit a like tonight, subscribe. I'm gonna give Drew the final word. What's the final word?
Ukraine.
What's that?
Glory to Ukraine.
What? Glory to you. Katie's lost his mind. All right, guys. I appreciate everybody tuning into the Shoe Shine. We'll be back Monday night with the phone line activated. There is some boxing. It's on ESPN, guys. Jose Pedraza and Richard Comey. Richard Comey, who got knocked out by Teofimo Lopez. He's making his move up to 140. Everybody's moving up to 140. Oh, no. We'll see you guys next Monday on the Shoe Shine. Take care, everybody. Peace and love.
What he said.